right, guys, welcome back. This is another episode of the Sports Casual. My name is Jack Paisley, and we got more trade news. This one primarily going to be in the NBA, but we got some NFL action as well. And let's just jump right into the big story that's been brewing for a little bit. Jimmy Butler has been traded from the Miami Heat to the Golden State Warriors. I talked last time how I hoped that the Heat would make an example out of Jimmy as just the latest example of one of those players that is just constantly on the move whenever something doesn't quite go the way that they're picturing it, and I was wrong. You know what? I was wrong. Not completely, but either way, Miami's we're done. We tried to fix this. We tried to pay him. He wants out. We're going to get something for him. I believe Jimmy is 36, 37, somewhere in there. And they trade him to go partner up with Steph Curry out in Golden State. Golden State is kind of in the similar boat to like the Lakers in my eyes, as they've got this growing older superstar that's still for Steph is at the tail end of his prime. LeBron is obviously out of his prime, but still, a superstar, top 10 in the world player kind of thing, maybe 20, depending on how you view him. And this kind of feels like the last gasp of the Golden State Warriors trying to not only remain relevant but kind of make that last title push. And I personally don't think this move gets them all that much closer. They traded, I believe, Andrew Wiggins and a couple other young players and some picks for him, but I don't see Jimmy elevating this team at the very least this year. He did also then agree to sign a 2-year extension, which I was a little surprised about because I'd seen reports that he was letting Golden State know that he wasn't going to sign an extension if they traded for him, and obviously that was wrong. But this feels like kind of a last ditch effort to kind of build that superstar squad they gave up when they let Kevin Durant go. And I'll be honest. I'm curious to see how this works out because Jimmy, especially playoff Jimmy Butler, is a sight to behold. And pair him with Steph Curry, you can't really isolate Steph the way that the whole league's been doing really since before Clay was hurt and once Kevin Durant left. So I do think this could help Steph, but I don't really think it makes them a contender. But it'll sure be fun to see, and I'm sure we're gonna get some noise coming out there. Just anytime you're getting these big time superstar trades halfway through, it's always going to be fun to see if it works. Which leads me my next one, which the Raptors announced that they traded for Brandon Ingram from the Pelicans, and these are two like outside of the Kawhi Leonard championship a couple years ago. These are two very just kind of irrelevant sports franchises in the or the NBA. Obviously, the Pelicans superstar is Zion Williamson, who in my mind has been a bust. He was supposed to be that generational player that's supposed to elevate the whole franchise, and that really hasn't happened. Even though Brandon Ingram is a legitimate like he's probably like a 1B or 2A kind of player that I mean, Brandon has turned into a great player after kind of being a flop in the Lakers. That I don't think this moves the needle for either one of these teams. I think the Pelicans just further admit that they are fully in a rebuild, whether they want to admit it or not. I wouldn't be shocked if they consider moving Zion as well, especially if the trade package is right. Uh, but yeah, I don't think this makes either team a contender this year, but it's always fun seeing those top end players kind of shift around just to see if they're just used as pawns. Like maybe the Raptors then try to parlay Brandon Ingram into something else, or if the Pelicans just need picks to generate maybe a I don't know like a Damian Lillard trade or something like that. I don't think that's going to actually happen, but just whether these guys are just like pawns in this larger game of trade. And then I would say probably the biggest one outside of Jimmy was the Bucks announced that they traded longtime Bucks player Chris Middleton for Kyle Kuzma with I believe it's the Washington Wizards. And I think this is the Bucks admitting that they need to get not only younger, cheaper, but they also are starting to feel the pressure of building around Giannis even more. Obviously, they traded for Dame. I believe that was last year, and it was getting loud that Giannis was just not happy with how they were trying to build around him and actually give him a chance at this title after they already won one. And this feels like a move to not only get younger, but just to build cap space so they can try to bring in these other players. Because Kuzma's not really having a great year. This isn't one of his like superstar, like sneaky all star team years. He's just kind of he's about 15 points a night, 6'9", so you can give him a little flexibility. But this is just a move to get younger because I think the Bucks are feeling the pressure from a team like the Mavericks that traded Luka Doncic. I think it's gonna get loud in Milwaukee if they aren't starting to, you know, put legitimate moves around the team. Like they went all in on Dame and it hasn't really worked out so far, so they're limited on what they can build, but these players don't really care when they are making these moves. And I think that the Bucks are just trying to like make sure that they are in the good books with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Uh, well, we just got some breaking news as we are actually talking. So the Los Angeles Lakers have just made another trade. This time they are trading Dalton Connect or Connect something however you say it, the first rounder from this year, and Cam Reddish to the Hornets for a player called Mark Williams, who is the center from the Hornets. So they are basically replacing Anthony Davis with Mark Williams. They're trying to get younger, add some size since they gave up their best defender and big man to get Luca. And this is just showing, like I said during the Luca trade, this is why the Lakers are so popular. They make those big time moves that if you're a Lakers fan, like you know that they're gonna they don't give a shit about the future. Like look at how long it took Oklahoma City to be good after Kevin Durant and Westbrook left because they built through the draft. Lakers are like fuck that. I'm gonna give you all my picks for the next 20 years. I want to be good now because I've got LeBron James, top 2 to 1 player of all time in the history of the game, and then I just traded for the international face of the league. We're going all in. So they're bringing in this Mark Williams, who, to be honest, I don't know a ton about, but uh, bringing him in to be their starting center, and they're really trying to give LeBron that one last shot, which I bet he'll stay. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say 2 more years because of the Luca trade. I think that buys them 2 more seasons after this, which I at that point I think it'll be time for him to retire. This is assuming there's not really a huge drop off in his health or just how he's playing, but that's a huge trade because they were really liking that kid from what I saw coming in with Bronny. The Yeah, Lakers are all in. I don't know if they're a playoff or if they're a legit contender this year. I think it depends on if Luke is actually going to play, but they're rolling the dice again on their future, and you just love to see it. And then last one we'll get into is in the NFL. Cooper Kupp was told by the Los Angeles Rams that they're going to trade him this offseason or try to trade him. And it got me thinking, like, who would I realistically see Cooper Kupp going to? Because he's expensive. I believe his cap hit's gonna be about 20 million, give or take. And he's if you trade him 2 years ago, everybody in the league will take that. But now I think he's probably more like a $8 to $10 million a year receiver. So you're gonna have to get either trade a draft pick to get someone to pick up the like the actual financial consequences of it, or you're gonna have to trade some draft capital, or you're gonna have to get somebody that's dumb. Is probably what's gonna happen. If I could draw it up on who I would guess trades for him, I there's a couple teams that jumped up on. The Carolina Panthers are trying to build around Bryce Young, and Cooper Kupp is kind of like a better Adam Thielen, and we saw how good Adam was this year. The other one that jumps to mind is the Patriots, the New Orleans or New not New Orleans, the New England Patriots. Obviously, they're trying. They brought in that new coach. They're trying to build around a young potential star quarterback. That bringing in a veteran receiver like Cup would definitely help that, and they have the cap space to do it. So I think if somebody's going to trade for him, I would not be surprised if maybe the Giants or the New England Patriots or uh, Carolina trade for him. Outside of that, unless the Rams are willing to give up some of that capital for a team to take on the salary, I think he's going to get cut. I think it's going to be they just can't find a partner that's willing to take the cap hit, and they're going to have to basically release him, and then he'll have his pick of the litter. Which if he does, I think he could end up in somewhere like a Baltimore. That wouldn't surprise me, or really any top contender. You can never rule out like the Bills or the maybe if T Higgins actually leaves the Bengals, maybe he'd go and sign a cheap deal with the Bengals to go play with Joe Burrow. Uh, but if he hits the open market, I don't see him playing for anybody that's not a contender. I think the lowest quality team he would realistically go to would be somewhere like probably the Cardinals, and I still don't really see that one happening because they aren't really that close. That my official prediction is that he'll get cut uh, and go to if he's chasing the money, he'll go to New England, or if he gets traded there. Outside of that, I'm gonna bet he goes to Cincinnati to go play with Joe Burrow. So that's gonna be my bet for the Cooper Cup saga that was just announced. And yeah, big time trade alerts basically in the NFL and the NBA that it's always fun to see. It's like you're playing 2K or Madden, and we're all here for it. So we'll keep you updated next bout of trades, which I'm sure are gonna happen. We'll come and talk about them again. Thank you for watching. This has been Jack Paisley and the Sports Casual.